One of the best ways to learn how to program is to practice programming. In this tutorial today, I'm going to show you how to write this simple program. This is a simple word game. For example, you can press 1 to play the game. And then basically there are 3 choices: my favorite color, programming language, or season. So you'll be guessing what the correct answer is. So let's go ahead and play by pressing 1. Guessing my favorite color, I'm going to type in blue, which obviously is the incorrect answer. So this game will say sorry to want to guess again. So if I say, yeah, I'm going to try guessing the color again, this time I'm going to type the correct answer, which is green. And then the game acknowledges that good job that I was able to guess correctly. And then we can press 4 to return to the main menu. And then we can press 2 to quit the game. So stick around and I'm going to walk you through how to write the code for this type of program. All right, let's go ahead and create a new project in Python. And I'm going to call it my word game project. I'm going to uncheck this because I don't want to create any files. This way it gives me more control how I want to organize my code. Let's create a new Python file. I'm going to call it wordgame.py. This is a blank file. And one of the first things you want to do is, before you even start coding, is to write down a strategy for coding. So I'm going to say, so this is a strategy for coding this particular game. This type of strategy or guiding principles will help you throughout your career as you learn to become a better coder. So we'll focus on writing repeatable code, and you'll see examples. And then we are going to focus on writing readable code. So those are the simple principles that we are going to focus on in this game. And then there's a keyword for that too in programming language. It's called refactoring. You write small chunks of code that can easily be reused within this program that you're writing. And then I'll talk about more refactoring as we code this together. And then I'm going to write story of the game is. Basically, there are 3 values that we are going to be guessing: my favorite color, my favorite programming language, and my favorite season. And then for extra credit, we are going to display the welcome menu. And then we are going to display also the exit menu when the player enters the game or exits the game. And then we are going to acknowledge when the player guesses the game correctly. And we are also going to inform the player if they guess incorrectly. The easiest thing to do in the beginning is there are 3 constants. So let's go ahead and create them. I'm going to say, remember to comment your code. Make it as easy for yourself and also for anyone else who might be looking at your code, to make it easy for them to read and understand your code. So I'm going to say constant for the game. So let's declare the first 3 constants, which is my favorite color, programming language, and season. My favorite color. And I'm going to define my favorite color to be green. A variable is where you can store a value in most of the programming languages. But the beauty about Python is that I don't have to declare whether this is a string, text value, numeric value. Python is smart enough that it will determine that automatically. I'm going to write my favorite programming language. I'll type Python, and then I'm going to define my favorite season is. When you're developing your own game, you can declare as many constants, as many values as you wish. But for this tutorial, I'm going to stick to just 3 values. So right now, what you have done is, as we had initially defined in the story, we have declared 3 of our constant variables. Basically, these are my favorite values. So let's do another easy thing. Let's declare some helper functions. I'm gonna make a comment here, helper functions. So remember them as your worker bees. They will carry the load for you, basically. Just leave that comment here for now. So in Python, to declare a function, we simply have to just use define, which is, I'm going to say welcome message. The job of this function is that whenever it's called, it should display a welcome message. So let's say print here. I'm going to use double quotes to write in text. Let's use 10 asterisks here. We're guessing game. Then let's use another print statement. And then this time I'm going to say, you know how in the welcome menu, you want to define what this game is about. If you want to use like a second line to make the code easy to read, you can just simply press enter. When the game starts, we want to display a welcome message that, hey, this is a word guessing game. And then what are you going to be guessing within the game? So let's write our next function, which is to say goodbye or exit. Here I'm going to say simply name the function. What is going to be doing is going to be displaying exit message. So I'm going to name it accordingly. So you type in the name, lowercase, something that's readable readable and meaningful using the two parentheses and colon. So that tells Python that it is going to be a function. Here, let's use 20 or so dashes, and then let's do another print. And then here I'm going to say goodbye, and then I'm going to print one more time, and you'll see what I'm trying to do here. Use the dashes again. Actually, you know what? I'm going to copy this. Much easier. Sorry, I'm going to add a dash here, and then add a dash in the end. So far I have welcome message, exit function, and now I need to build some sort of logic here to capture the data from the user, and then we can try to match it with this constant to create the game logic. Let's try to do it in a step-by-step basis. For example, let's pick on color. If it can successfully create one, and then we can basically build the logic for the other two options, which is the favorite language and the season. In Python, an easy way to ask a user for an input is to actually use a function called input. So I'm going to use a variable called player guess, and then I'm going to use an input. And then with the input function, you can write in your text. You can say guess. My first option is color. I'm going to say favorite color. So I'm going to put a colon space and allow a user to be able to guess it. So in Python, this line of code is outside of these functions because there are a couple of spaces. If you run the compiler, Python will ask us to provide an input. So let's go test that. So here is saying guess my favorite color. I'm going to say blah. Right now we're not doing anything with the value, but I can quickly test it. I can say print player guess. If I write blue, it says printing blue right here. So this shows me that we're able to capture the value, but now we need to build the program around it. So above this code, I'm going to say the game logic. So let's start building the game logic here. First thing I'm going to put here is the welcome message. Welcome the player to the game. And then I need to capture an input. Then we can build the rest of the logic. So let's run it again this time. So you can see it's printing the welcome message and it's asking me, what is your favorite color? Because I'm capturing the information here, now I need to somehow take this information and compare it the value stored in my constant, which is green. Let's do it this way. I'm gonna change this to player color guess and then store the value of the color here. And then I'm gonna say use an if statement. If player color guess equal my favorite color, then print good job. You guessed the color correctly. Else. So in Python, you can simply use an if statement to compare the two values. You have to use equal, you have to use a colon, and then whatever you want to do if the condition is matched. If the player's guess matches my favorite color, which is green, then say good job, you have guessed it correctly. Otherwise, print and say sorry, do you want to guess again? So in Python, there are a lot of string functions that come pre-packaged. So if you're using a variable in string, you can just press a dot and then you'll see this menu pops up. You have so many different functions that you can use, make it easy for you to program. So in this one, what I need is the lowercase. You could use uppercase as well. I'm going to use lowercase because most likely players will type in the value in lowercase. So always keep that in mind. And here too, I'm going to say lowercase. So basically what I'm doing here in this condition is that I'm telling Python, whatever value is entered here by the user, whether it's uppercase or lowercase, but when you do the if statement and compare the value which was entered into lowercase, and then also, even though I typed in uppercase G and then rest of the word is in lowercase, I'm telling Python to, before you do the comparison, make the word lowercase and then do comparison in that way. So when we run the code now, if I type in green, we'll accept it, right? Let's do it again. And if I do green, green, all uppercase, it still accepts it. It says, yes, good job. And let's run it again. And I'm going to do green. In all of the test cases, it's working perfectly fine. So this is pretty much it for the green, for the first choice, right? Let's do another player. This time I'm going to change it to player programming language guess. Input, guess my favorite programming language. So following the pattern above, I'm going to type in my second if statement. If player programming language guess lore equals my favorite programming language, which is right here. And then once again, I'm going to convert that to lore. Colon. I want exact this thing, good job. And if you notice, like if I go all the way down to colon and hit enter, it automatically is indented. There's a little bit of space left here. That space is important because that tells Python compiler it needs to execute this code if the if condition is met. So this time I'm gonna change color to guess the programming language correctly. Else, I'm gonna say I want to print the same message. And one of the things I love about this PyCharm editor is that because it's following the coding standard, it underlines if there's something missing and then it will try to fix it. So I'm gonna simply mouse over and I can say reformat the file. Basically, it eliminated some of the spaces that were above it. If you notice that our game logic is getting a little bit messier, game logic should be very clean and easy to read. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a new function. Make sure there are 2 spaces between the functions. So I'm going to define a new function. Let's call it guess my favorite color. And I'm simply going to take all this code. I'm going to cut and paste it here. And similarly, I can basically create another function, guess my favorite programming language. And I'm going to copy paste this code here. Okay, so let's write our last condition, which is guessing the favorite season. Once again, I'm going to declare my player season guess. Once again, I'm going to say input, and I'm going to say guess my favorite season. If player season dot lore equal to my favorite season dot lore, then print. I'll copy this line from here. I'm gonna say copy paste. Instead of programming language, I'm gonna say season and delete the language. And then I'm gonna copy this again, else copy paste it here. Make sure the formatting is correct. So let's create a third function. I'm gonna cut this code and paste it into definition guess my favorite season. And I'm going to copy paste this code here. Here I'm going to say, write a little bit of a different message. If anybody else is reading my code, it'll be easy for them. I'm going to say main game functions, because these are the main game functions that are actually testing the logic to compare the input from the user with the constant values that I already have within the game. Now I need to create another menu, main menu, and then I'm going to say display game menu. So let's write those down with our other messages. So I'm going to say go back to the helper functions again, and I'm going to write a display main menu. And in this one, once again, I'm going to say print. I'm going to use maybe like 10 asterisks, game menu. Then let's use another print statement. This time I'm going to say enter 1 to play the game. I use the uppercase P just to kind of emphasize the play option. And then I'm going to say print enter 2 to quit. So this is my main menu. So let's write a game menu now. Display game menu. Once again, I'm going to use print. Sorry, I made a mistake here. Let's call it main menu. And then here I'm going to say same logic. Let's use same print statement because I want them to look similar. And this time I'm going to say game menu. And then game menu, I'm going to copy paste this line again. Enter 1 to guess my favorite color. So this game menu is going to have 4 different options. So I'm going to copy paste this line a couple of times. 3, 4. Second choice is programming language. Third is to guess my favorite season. And then last choice is to return to the main menu. Once again, there are multiple ways to implement the same language. Just like someone who writes a book, there are many different ways to describe a story. Every coder, every programmer, every software developer, they also have their own unique style. And I think that's really a great thing. Because these two are the game menus, I'm going to actually make another note here. I'm going to call them game menu functions. As the name indicates, they both are display functions. So right now we have built all the Lego pieces, but we still haven't built our main game logic. So let's start again. This time I want to call this function first. So I'm going to say welcome, and I'm going to say show me display main menu. Let me just test that. this looks like it's very congested. I want a little bit space between them. So let's go back to the game menu. In order to add a space between the line above, you can just say \n, which basically indicates to Python that I want a new line. So when you run it again, space was added here. I have to fix one thing quickly. So let's go back here and fix this. 2, 3, 4. All right, so I want the user to be able to type either 1 to go into this game menu or type 2 to exit. So let's start stitching together all these different functions into one cohesive logic. So one of the first things I need to do here is that after I display the welcome message and then the main menu, I want to be able to accept the user or the player's choice. So let's do that. I'm going to say player game option. Because, what are the game options? Option 1 is to play the game. Option 2 is to quit the game. So once again, I'm going to use the input value and I'm going to say something like, what do you want to do? So let's write if condition. If player game option equal 1. So then I'm going to say display game menu. Else, in this condition, I'm forcing user to either select 1 or user could select 2. I will have to use the else if condition. Else if player game option equal to 2. I want to display the exit. No, I'm going to say exit message. I want to display the exit message here. There is one problem that we need to fix. Either we can use the input values into the variable player game option, or by default it's string. We either need to convert that into an integer or we have to use a string value. For example, I have to convert that into a string. And then it should work. There you go. That displays the game option. Once again, it looks really congested. So let's fix the formatting first, which is easier to do. I'm going to do the same thing, enter a new line here. And then let's test it again. Enter 1. So now it looks more readable. Let me test one more thing. What happens if I type in string, hello? Yeah, it's not doing anything. So we want to be able to capture that as well. If the value is not 1 or 2, then we should be able to display you entered an incorrect choice. So then you can enter another condition and say else. And here I'm just going to say print, you entered an incorrect value. Or value is too technical, let's say choice. Let's run it again. If I say hello, perfect. So it's not saying incorrect value or choice. Once again, let me test. What if I say 5? You entered an incorrect choice. Very good. And if I say 2, the game is successfully exiting. Even though it doesn't look too perfect, let's move this around a little bit. So, and then reduce this by maybe 2 and 2. Let's 2 dashes and see how it looks. So I'm quickly just going to do formatting here. So exit message, I'm going to delete 1, 2, 1, 2. That would help. If I say 2, there you go. So this message looks a little bit better, but still it's too close to the line above. I will once again enter new line. So now if you notice that this kind of looks like a pattern, I pretty much know that I should enter the new line into all of the messages just to be consistent. Let's run one more time. Say 1. Displays the menu. Let's run one more time. And then 2, it quits. Perfect. But now I have to build the other conditions for the second menu. For example, if is equal to 1, display game menu, then what happens next? There should be something else happening, right? So what I have to do is build underneath it. I'm going to say if, actually, I will have to ask for user input one more time. Let's call it game choice. And then once again, I'm going to say input. I'm going to say, what do you want to do? I've used this line text, what do you want to do? And then once again, I'm using what do you want to do? Why not I simplify this by writing a function? So I can say copy. And then let's go to my helper functions. And here I'm gonna write a helper function, player input. This one I'm gonna say player choice equal to this. And I'm gonna actually return a value, player choice. The benefit of calling this function is that I have more control over this text. As your program or code gets larger, it's a good practice to eliminate any strings, any text that you manually type from your code. So let's delete this. Here, I'm going to instead call player input. And then also here, I'm going to call player input. So all I'm doing here is I'm actually calling upon this function, which if you go to implementation, here you can see all this function is doing. It declares a variable, assigns the value here, and it returns the value to me. And then when it returns the value, I actually simply take the value that's returned by this function and I assign it to this variable. And then I can use it in any way I want. I can print it, I can use it in logic, so on and so forth. So here, once again, I'll do this, add some space so our code is a little bit more readable. I think before I move further with the game menu, what I would like to do is create the loop so our game will continue to run unless the user actually enter the value 2 to quit the game. So for example, right now, if I say 1 or 2, let's say 2, it does quit. If I say option 1, it shows me the game menu. And if I do the game option 1, it kind of quits. I would like the game to continue to run unless I actually decide to quit the game. For that, we have to use a loop in Python. So I'm going to indent this right here. I'm going to use actually a while loop. While, and I need to set a value to be true. So when we start the game, I want this value to be true. I'm actually going to declare a value, a new constant. I'm going to call it play game equal true. So this is a logical operator. You can also assign a true or false value to variables. I'm going to use this value to run my loop. So for example, I'm going to say while play game is equal to true. Instead of saying equal to true, in Python, I can simply just say play game. This basically tells Python's compiler that if the value contained within the play game logical Boolean variable is true, continue to run the loop. And we have already determined here if the value is 2, we display the exit message. And then I'm going to actually set the value play game equal to false. When the value is equal to false, this while loop will break and game will exit. So let's test that. Let's run the game. And then if I select second option 2, it should break the loop. And it does. So let's go ahead and now build the rest of the menu. If game choice, once again, I'm going to say equal to 1, then what is the first choice? It is guessing the favorite color. And remember when I wrote the main functions, there's a function that actually has the logic built into it that will determine if my guess for the color is correct. So let's go ahead and call this function. In programming language, calling the function means we call the function. So I'm going to say guess. Python editor automatically is displaying me all the guess functions, which are season, programming language, and color. So I'm going to pick the color. And then let's go ahead and build the rest of the menu. Else if game choice equals to 2, I want to call programming language function, so which is guess my favorite programming language. So I'm going to say guess my favorite programming language. And then else if game choice, if the user typed in 3, then I want to call guess my favorite season. Else if user entered 4, which is to return to the main menu, then you would want to call the main menu, which is display main menu. So I'm going to say display main menu. There you go. there is a slight problem here. Just like the first while loop, I would like to continue to run this game here in this. This is the main game logic. Let's put another comment here. Main game logic here. I would like to continue to run this logic until the user presses 4 in this menu. Then we return to the main menu. And when you return to the main menu, you want to come out of it and then you want to head back to this loop. So in order to fix this problem, I'm going to actually introduce another while loop. In the main game logic, I'm going to say main menu variable. And basically this is a flag. I'm going to set it to true. I'm going to take all this code, indent this one more time, and then here I'm going to introduce my while loop. I'm going to say while, once again, main menu is true. I would like to continue to run this game in this area. And then if the choice is 4, I want the main menu variable to be set to false. And this will basically tell the program to go back to this while loop here. So this is called nested loops. I have one while loop running up at the top level, and then I have a second while loop running, which is nested underneath this loop. So then I have two menus. They will continue to run unless the user makes a conscious choice to go back. Let's fix some outright problems. One is that if I come into this while loop, if I exit here, I want to be able to show the user main menu, right? So display main menu. I need to bring this main menu inside the while loop. And then as I'm bringing this main menu, we need to allow the user choice or the player choice also come inside the while loop. Because Python code executes from top to bottom, what we are basically doing is we're displaying the welcome message, and then we're starting the while loop. We're saying while the play game variable is set to true, you would show the main menu, and then you will accept the user choice. You will accept the user input, and then based on that input, you will perform different actions. I just realized something. One of the things is that if we go to the guiding principles, code needs to be more readable. This is a good example that even though I named it main menu, I think it would be better if we change this to game menu, because really what we are doing here is the game menu logic, right? In Python, there's an easy way to do it. Instead of me replacing this name, you can just highlight the keyword, and you can right click, refactor, and rename. So from main menu, I want to call it game menu. So let's change that. So if you notice, automatically it changed it here, it changed it here, and it also changed it here. So that's a really great option that you can use. And now our code is more readable. There's one more option missing. What if the user types in 5 or 6 or 7 or something else? You want to capture that too. So we will just basically take the same else statement here, and then we type it here. Let me just copy paste else. I would like to stay within this while loop unless the user specifically chooses option 4. So let's run this now. We'll play the game, select option 3, and then season, I'm going to type in wrong, winter. Let's do option 3 again. This time I'm going to say summer, but it stays here, right? If I say hello, it says it's incorrect value. What if I type in 5? It says you entered incorrect value, but there's one issue right here. I need to bring the game menu inside. I need to bring in the while loop here. Let's run it again. Main menu, you press 1. You've got the game menu. I'm going to say option 3. I'm going to say winter. Once again, incorrect. But now it looks better, right? It's actually showing me the whole menu. If I select 3 again, and this time I'm going to say summer, it says good job, and then it displays the menu again. It looks a little bit congested. Let's fix the formatting here, and then we'll go back to, okay, so there's a problem here too. This main menu is displayed twice, so we got to fix that. Let's fix the formatting first, because that's the easy part. I actually want to copy this, and I'm going to bring it inside this function. Starting from my favorite color, do this. And let's erase some of the lines. And then I'm going to also enter this here. We do not need new line here. And I'll do the same thing in this area. And then let's do the last part. And then the second problem was we noticed that why did this main menu got printed twice? So if you look at the code quickly, display main menu is displayed here. When we press 4, it exits and displays main menu. So we don't need to do that actually. So all we need to do is exit the loop, because what happens is it's a circular. When the condition is set to false, this loop breaks, and the code, the way it executes, it actually goes all the way to the bottom. These two conditions are not going to be executed because we already were at this top condition. The first condition was 1. Because that condition is executed, the code goes back to while loop, and then it displays the main menu, and then it goes down again, depending on what the choice is. So let's run one more time. I'm going to play the game, and this time I'm going to say option number 2, Python. I'm going to say my favorite language is Python. It says, good job. You see now it's a little bit better readability. I want to exit. It brought me to the main menu. And then here it's asking me, what do you want to do? I'm going to quit the game. It says, thank you. So it seems like we have achieved the cohesion we needed. So now we're pretty much complete with our code. There are a few things I still want to do in terms of formatting. I'm going to go back to the main menu. The main menu does have some space. I'm going to add a little bit of an extra line here, new line. And I'm going to do the same thing here in the game menu. It's going to make it better to read. And there's one thing I didn't like here. Let's be consistent with our style, because I made this style with a dash here and dash here. Let's do the same thing. One dash here and another dash in this area. I'm going to add now the same styling into the sorry area too. One thing you need to be able to do is be consistent in your look and feel and in your code. So now let's copy this code to all these functions. Let me run the game one more time. And this time I'm gonna view mode. I'm gonna say window. So this is what we were seeing in the beginning. So let's go ahead and play the game again. I'm gonna select my favorite color, green. It accepts. Good job. What do you want to do next? I want to guess your favorite season. It's winter. Accidentally, I type in a wrong choice, 5. It says you enter incorrect choice. It brings me back to the menu the way it's supposed to. And I'll say 3. And then I'll say, I'm going to type in all uppercase, summer. And then it still is intelligent enough to recognize that I typed in the correct keyword. And if I misspell it, I'm gonna 3 summer, and then it's still detecting that I typed it incorrectly. And then if I select 4, it goes to gameplay, and you can say you can go back to playing game or come back and quit. There you go. It says, thank you for playing this game. So this is it. And this is how our code looks. So once again, let's go back and review what we did in this tutorial. First, we came up with a strategy that we will write a repeatable, readable code. The technical term that you would hear a lot of developers or technical people use is, hey, refactor your code, which basically means you divide the code into small chunks. So it's repeatable and it's reusable and it's easy to read. If you notice, all of our code is inside functions and all the game logic is contained basically in this area. And within this area too, the core logic is here. That's what the game is basically running on. And once again, there are a lot of different ways to implement same code. This is just one of the ways. And if you're a beginner, this will help you understand how the logic works. Hopefully you can learn and develop something more better, more valuable. So in this tutorial, we developed a program that knows what my favorite color is, what my favorite programming language is, and what my favorite season is. And then it has the ability to accept input from a player, and then it determines if the value entered or the guess entered by the player is correct or not. We also saw how we can break down the code into small functions, which we can use over and over if you want to. For example, this display menu, I can call as many times I want. this welcome message. Also, I can call it as many times as I want. By adding all the code inside the functions, our game logic is easy to read, easy to follow, easy to fix if there are some issues, and it looks neat and clean. I hope you learned something from this tutorial, and I appreciate if you stayed this long. Please subscribe to my channel. Come back for more videos. Thank you, and bye-bye.